All right, before we proceed further for the industrial example, I recognize that I should teach you about the databases, because that's one of the most important properties when we are doing the SCADA programming or setting up the SCADA. Now, what is a database? Now, database is a storage. For example, I take an icon here. So database is a storage where we store the information from the PLC or from the external world. So this database can access the external world and can access the PLC as well. So for example, you have external messages or information which is related to your plant and you want to store in the database. So this external message can push or pull the information from the database. So for example, I take an arrow here first of all. So this goes to my database and this goes here. So this external message information could be another PLC. Okay, it could be another SCADA system. It could be another communication system. So for example, I will write here another SCADA system, or maybe it's coming from another world, from different world, from not another world, but I mean another country, another city, and you want the data to be stored in your computer. And you need to do something with that data to your PLC. For example, you have PLC installed, one in Canada and one is in, I don't know, Mexico, and you want the PLC should share the information. So that is possible using a database. So database can talk to each other. So you can have this database in another location as well, and they can communicate with each other. Okay, so this database is very important when we talk about SCADA system. So let me just put this arrow here, for example, and this one here. So this is just to indicate the importance of database. So I'm just showing you database here so they can communicate with each other. Okay, now I will show you one example how this database can be used in the ignition SCADA. But here you just understand that we need a storage where we store the information. So we don't store everything in the PLC. We don't store everything in the PLC DB. We also store DB is also database in PLC. We also store information in our computer, or this database can also be in the cloud. Okay, but right now we are talking about database in the local computer. Okay, so this database you have to install in your computer, and the software which I would recommend you is MySQL. So you can go to this link, downloads.mysql.com archives workbench. So I'm using the software MySQL workbench 6.3.9. This is what I'm using, and this is how the software looks like. I will come to that later, but first I want to explain you what is the benefit of using databases. So if you understood the importance of database to store the information and to communicate with other information outside the SCADA system or inside as well, both is possible. Now let's see an example. So I will go to my designer and you will see something happening here. Now let's start from the beginning. We have seen this part, we have seen this part. Now let's see what is that. We have a bar chart and it says it's reading from PLC tag. So basically in the further videos we are going to see how to make this bar chart, pie charts, tables. So for example, if you see this value is coming for this bar and this value is for this bar. So this is basically speed 1 and that's speed 2. And this is also showing the value from speed 1 and speed 2 here. Okay, wait a second, there is something. Should go up. Yeah, this is called easy chart. So if I change this value, this first speed, you will see the change here. It's changing, and here this is also dropping. This red is speed 1. So you can see the value coming from PLC tag, how this is affecting the graphs. Now I can also show you from here. So if I go to online, basically in ignition DB, and this we have seen speed 1. This speed we have seen in the last example. So this is 18 here. So if this value in the PLC changes from any sources, let's say 34, this is 34, you will see this moves up to 34. This also moves up to 34, and all the values which we are reading from PLC, for example, this table is also 34. And if you see the pie chart, this is also 34. So this pie chart, this table, this bar chart, and this bar, this is easy chart, is linked to PLC values. So if I increase that to 100, you will see this is increased to 100, that is increased to 100, not exactly 100 but 97, and here also 97. So these are the PLC value linked. But now comes to the database. Now database values are stored in my computer. So if I show you this, you need to install this MySQL workbench, and then you will see a database. But I will tell you in the next video the step to create the tables. So if I show you my data, now data is a table in my database. So database was SYS, it's the name of the database. In this I have made a table named data. Now in this data I have two columns, job ID and values. So it's basically a kind of an Excel table, okay? Because in database we store values in tables. So in this table we have two columns, job ID and value, and several rows. So in the row 1 is 20, 2 job ID is 45, 3 is 49. So this is the value in my table, and this value is reflecting here. So if you see, the first value was 20, second is 45, third is 49. So that's the same, 20, 45, 49, 3, 77, 17. So this is 3, and this is 77, this is 17. So this is the value we are seeing in the SCADA screen. And this is the same value we see as a table in our SCADA screen, and as a pie chart, and as a list view. This is a list view of values. So what you are basically seeing here is that we are reading the value from MySQL and storing that in our SCADA, or displaying that in the SCADA in a meaningful way, in a graphical way. That's what we are going to learn in the future lessons, how to interlink the databases. Now if you are not much aware about the databases, I will advise you to find some tutorials online. There is a big resource of how to work with MySQL and how to install it and how to use different commands, but I will just show you the basic commands in the further videos about the SQL. And this is just about what is a database and how we are using it in the SCADA in a different visual formats. So this video was about that. In the next video I will tell you shortly about how to install MySQL and how to configure your own tables in the MySQL. Okay, so I'll see you in the next video.